Okay, thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, although I am a professional engineer in the telecommunication field, I'm here to discuss with you about two datasets which can reveal something interesting about population and environment in Italy. Why is that? Because I believe that a change in population or in the environment implies a change in the infrastructure or services, which may lead to a social inequality, which in turn might yield a new change in population. Let me make an example from my field. If there is an area in which the population is increasing, then it's likely that a telecommunication operator will increase the fiber optic coverage or the cellular coverage. While if the population is decreasing, it's quite unlikely that such enhancement will be provided. So if you are running, say, a grocery store, it's okay. But if you need to exchange gigabytes of data, it's not okay. Then you will be forced to move sooner or later. So the point of this analysis is that any discussion about infrastructure or services in an area must start with an analysis of the population and the area in which such population live. Then you can analyze communication networks, railroads, hospital, cinemas, whatever. But first, one should start thinking about the population. So how can we describe such changes in Italy? Well, we are talking about a nation with almost 60 million people and a surface of 300,000 square kilometers. So we cannot use, say, unstructured data or various sources. We need to simplify and use two sources. The first one is the census data by Istat. So essentially, there is a non-uniform coverage of the whole nation in census sections. And for each section, we have data about people living there, number of families, education of the people, employment, age, gender, and whatever. And this historically has been provided not in a geospatial data, but in a tabular form from the birth of Italy in 1861. But in the recent years, there is also the geographical view, and now they are also updating it on a yearly fashion rather than decennial one. The other data source is the Corine Land cover project. So it's satellite imagery and computer recognition of the images, aiming at classifying the soil into one of 44 classes. The classes can be summarized in 5 main areas: artificial surface, agricultural areas, forest and semi-natural areas, wetland, and water bodies. The minimum mapping unit is 25 hectares, which for Italian people means 50 football fields. And the accuracy is 85%. This has been benchmarked also with a Eurostat project, which is based on actual surveys. The nice feature about these two different datasets originated by different entities is that they are quite aligned in time. So if we are talking about use of the soil in a given moment, we can also have a close census data about the population in that area. So let us start with Italy as a whole. The population of Italy from 1991 to 2021 had an increase about 4%. That's the total population, so summing birth, death, people moving in and out, 4%. So how not only the 4% increase, but the total population of Italy affected the Italian soil? Well, the increase in the artificial surface is 23%, which in relative terms is a huge increase, but it's also significant in absolute terms, because the increase from 1990 to 2018 is almost 3,000 square kilometers. And let me go back. We say that the whole area of Italy is 300,000 square kilometers. So in the years from 1990 to 2018, we exploited 1% more of the Italian soil for artificial purposes. And this has been done at the expense of agricultural areas and forest and semi-natural areas mainly. Just a quick detail about the classes which have shown a higher increase. The first three classes are essentially man-made industrial or commercial units, road and railroad, dam sites. Then there is also a, say, nice class, the sport and leisure facilities, which show an increase as well. Then the human activities can be seen also as a change in agriculture, because the increase in permanently irrigated land means that the agriculture in Italy is changing. Then it's dramatic to look at the last three classes. There is an increase in sparsely vegetated areas, so areas which are nothing, no woods, no use in agriculture, nothing, and the burnt areas. But if you want to see something which is decreasing, guess what? The glaciers. The glaciers are decreasing. So if someone say, oh no, there is no climate change issue, well, data say the opposite. There is a climate change issue. So I've seen Italy as a whole in these two slides, and then the question arises, what's happening in each of the 20 regions? Is this trend almost the same? It's something different from region to region? Let's go in more detail. First of all, let's start analyzing the population. The first 10 regions are, say, in the northern and central Italy. And we can see that the trend is increasing or slightly fluctuating around the mean value, with the only exception of Liguria, in which the population is decreasing from 1991 to 2021. On the other hand, in center and southern Italy, the trend is the opposite. It's almost decreasing, with, say, the exception of Lazio. So if we look only at the population, we can strike a line and say, on the northern side of this line, the population is increasing. On the southern side of this line, the population is decreasing. We could perform similar analysis also on the use of the soil, but it will be a table which is almost unreadable. So let's try to change the game. Let's try to compare a few regions at once. And this kind of comparison will be based on the artificial surface area normalized with respect to the population, trying to be as fair as possible. But we will see that it's not easy to be fair in comparisons. So the first comparison is between three regions in northern Italy. Friuli, Venezia Giulia, which is the rightmost one of the highlighted ones. Veneto, which is the second from the right of the highlighted regions, and Liguria, which is the first from the left. We see that in Friuli, Venezia Giulia, the population is almost steady. There is a slight fluctuation, but the value is almost the same. In Veneto, there is an increase, and in Liguria, there is a decrease. On the other hand, the area of these regions is not comparable at all. What can we see? Let us focus only on the artificial areas, and let's break down into its four components: urban fabric, industrial, commercial, and transport units, mine, dump, and construction sites, and artificial, non-agricultural vegetated areas. So the trend is almost increasing, and it is strange that the Veneto is at a value, even a starting value, considerably higher than the other regions. And this applies to all the classes of artificial areas. For Liguria, the increase in urban fabric, it's actually a joke of the normalization, because the increase is very slight, but the decrease of population is higher. So actually the urban fabric has almost the same value in square kilometers. But however, we can see that between these three regions, there is an increasing trend in all the artificial soil, and there are starting points at completely different level. Second comparison, northern Italy, Lombardia, central Italy, Lazio, southern Italy, Campania. Again, everything is increasing. In Lombardia, actually, the normalized urban fabric appears to be decreasing. That's, again, a joke made up by the normalization, because the population is increasing, so the urban fabric is, in square kilometers, is increasing as well. And it's interesting to observe, again, the different starting levels and also the dynamics of this evolution. Let us focus on the industrial, commercial, and transport units. For Lombardia, the range is 50 square kilometers per million people to, say, 60. In Lazio, it's 30 to 38. In Campania, it's 14 to 27, which is almost a doubling, while for the other regions, the increase is less. And also for artificial and non-agricultural vegetated areas, the start values and end values are significantly different. Third comparison, two regions in northern Italy, Piemonte and Emilia-Romagna. Piemonte, with a population trend which is fairly constant, oscillating, while Emilia-Romagna is increasing in population, and the surface is quite similar in this case. Again, everything is increasing, urban fabric is increasing, industrial, commercial, and transport unit is increasing, etc. And once more, it's interesting to observe the difference in the industrial areas. In Piemonte, the industrial areas are almost more than doubling the surface. In Emilia-Romagna, they're getting one and a half the size that they had at the beginning of this analysis. Finally, a comparison amongst two regions from the south, Puglia and Sicilia, which show both a decreasing trend of population. And interestingly, the urban fabric is increasing, and this time is not a joke made up by the normalization. The surface in square kilometer is increasing. And also the industrial areas are increasing. Mine dump and construction sites are increasing in Puglia, decreasing in Sicilia. And the artificial, non-agricultural vegetated areas are increasing. Is this level satisfactory? Let us compare with the one of Piedmont and Emilia-Romagna. Well, I don't know if it's satisfactory. So, wrapping up. The two datasets we have seen, ESTAT and Corine Land cover, could be used for many different studies about Italy. They have some pros. The spatial and the temporal dimension, a good spatial resolution, especially for ESTAT, and a large number of classes or records. Then another point to be observed is it's difficult to make a totally fair comparison, because of course the area and population may vary, but also the geography of each region is different, and the economy. So in a comparison, one should add a lot of footnotes saying, oh, but this region has a lot of fields, oh, but this region has a lot of seaside, etc. But if we really want to wrap up and find some message, I think that the message is that the population is increasing in northern Italy, and the use of soil is different between northern and southern Italy. And doesn't matter actually the population value. Just let's build new houses. It's okay. Then sooner or later we will use them. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.
Any questions? I'm going to start with one. So you're using ISTAT and Eurostat data. I'm not very familiar with ISTAT, but Eurostat also has more regular data estimates, for example, population estimates. Are you planning, have you had a look at those, and do you think that's going to be anything different, like more recently?
Well, yeah, the Eurostat data are more regular, but they are based on actual surveys, so they are in a, say, punctual fashion, while the Corine Land cover is in comparable in the data format as the ISTAT data, and again, the Corine Land cover from European Commission has been benchmarked with Eurostat data. So at the end, the data are consistent.
Thank you. Any other question?
Do you think that this information could be used to suggest some policies or some taxes, fines for this kind of abusive building implementation?
Well, I am a technician and not a policymaker, but in general, I think that any action about the future must start about a thorough analysis of the present and how did we arrive to such a present situation. So I think that analyzing the flow of the population and the impact of the population on the environment should be the starting point from a lot of actions, from the infrastructural point of view, which is my field, to also the political point of view.
And did you, I don't know if there's any data, but is there any actual analysis of how infrastructure is being built? Because obviously some of this analysis was, there's a lot of stuff being built, there's areas being burned and all that. How does that population move compare with where the infrastructure, electricity, telecommunication is being built?
Well, for the specific case of telecommunications, the process is just has been in the first steps to focus on the big cities only. Then there was a move from big cities, say, to medium cities, and there were government funding to cover small cities and isolated areas, government or regional funding. So the national or regional fundings were essentially meant to overcome my point from the beginning, that if you are living in a underserved areas and you are doing, say, a high-tech job, then you will force it to move